Hi, everyone. Welcome to Two Guys Talking Sports. Got a little bit of a different episode today.
I'm excited for this one because as much talking offline, as much crap as you give me about not watching certain TV shows, the fact that you struggle to make a list is going to be very fun to hear today.
We are going to talk a little bit of sports before we get to the movies, but we do have our top 10 sports movies that we're going to run through after a little bit of sports talk. But before we get into anything, a little bit of sad news, especially from our community, not only as Gamecock fans, but as people from Dillon.
Yeah, local.
DJ Park, he went to Dillon, played at Dillon, and then played at South Carolina. Unfortunately, he just passed away.
Yeah, sad news, man.
Last night. We're not really sure of any details.
Yeah.
We've heard a few things, but I don't want to get into it and say something wrong.
Yeah, it's just sad. So young.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not old by no means, but he's younger than us. It just all came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it's sad.
It really did. You texted me the other day that that he was in bad health, and and then all of a sudden it just kind of went quick yesterday.
Yeah. Just
again, we don't know a lot of the details, but obviously it started making its rounds in the Gamecock community. It's kind of picked up on it now.
Yeah, I saw Sean Elliott tweeted last night, and I saw Scott Spurrier tweeted. Some of his teammates tweeted. It's just sad, man. Just never take life for granted. It can go in a snap of a finger, man.
Exactly.
It's tough.
So we just want to give our condolences to the Park family. Very sad news. If there's anything that we can do at Hometown Digital and Two Guys Talking Sports, please reach out and let us know.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the awful South Carolina baseball team.
More sad news.
South Carolina Clemson rivalry game weekend this weekend. Obviously, the Friday night game got canceled. Doesn't really mean much now since Clemson took the series, winning at the Firefly Stadium on Saturday.
It's called like Segura or Segra Park.
Segra or something like that. And then obviously they go to Doug Kingsmore.
Before we get to the Sunday game, can we talk about the broadcast for
awful.
Saturday?
And here's the thing: is every year when they do this, they have the Friday night game usually in either Carolina or Clemson, and then the Saturday game is always the neutral side.
Yeah,
and it's always played at a minor league baseball stadium, either the Greenville Drive or the Fireflies.
Yeah.
And that Saturday broadcast is always awful, whether it's the cameras, the audio. It's just, and it makes no sense because you would think that they would have more technology and stuff at these stadiums because those games are broadcast.
I think
minor league games.
Yeah, I think it was the radio broadcast, but I remember it was Clemson's leadoff batter was batting, and he's a lefty, hit it to the left side of the field. Now, where it went, I don't know. Yeah. Because he hit it, and it just showed him running. And then we didn't have audio for, the first couple outs.
There was a lot of runner trying to steal second. There's a throw over, and you're just watching the catcher. He throws it, and you're just watching him, and then he gives a reaction. You don't know. Yeah. You don't see the play at all, and it's just like, all right, he's out.
It's all.
Is he? I don't know. We didn't see that.
And I don't think you have the issues like that at the normal college stadiums. I guess just from a technology standpoint, I don't know. I think they should do away with it. I think it should be either 2 games at Carolina and Clemson, and then or they just I don't know. It was weird. I didn't like it. We lost obviously, but I mean they were really great games. I mean they
were in terms of baseball and entertainment and the games itself. Really good games. Yeah. Obviously, South Carolina just can't get it done.
People weren't happy with Kingston.
I'm not happy with Kingston. You give him a little bit more leeway.
Well, the thing is, man, like it's been kind of the same thing with his teams ever since he's got here. I mean, I think this is his 7th season.
Yes.
We live and die by the long ball.
Exactly.
We've never been, in my opinion, a great situational hitting team. The pitching showed up.
Yes.
I mean, you can't stop them for
you're not gonna be able to shut them out.
Innings. Yeah. And I saw a stat with our runners in score. We left a lot of runners in scoring position, a lot of runners on base. I think we were I can't find it because I didn't bookmark it, but the stat for our leaving runners on base or in scoring position was awful. And you're I don't care who you play. You can play Francis Marion.
Right.
if you can't if you can't get your runners in that you get on base, you're not going to win.
Exactly.
And credit to Clemson. They got the hits when they, whether they be home runs or not, got the hits when they needed to.
Exactly, yeah. And I think one thing, too, that kind of irks people with Kingston is he's just so nonchalant about it at the end of the games. It's just like, all right, well, we're going to be fine. It's just fans don't want to hear that, especially, when it's against Clemson.
But like I said, at the end of the day, it's not the end of the season.
It's not.
We've got
And here's the thing is like we talk about how, Clemson fans react with Dabo, and obviously they were spoiled.
Yeah.
We were spoiled back in 09-10, and that's kind of the expectation now is get to the College World Series, win the thing.
Yeah, I will say this anytime you lose a legendary head coach like Ray Tanner was, there's always going to be a drop off. I don't care who it is. You're seeing it at Duke with John Shire taking over for Coach K. And the thing is, it's not like we've gotten bad, but the other teams have just gotten great.
Right.
I mean, we've made it to 2 super regionals under Kingston. I mean, you can't complain about that, but we're just used to
getting there,
going to the College World Series.
I think what makes it kind of tougher to take is that you lost Ray Tanner in a sense, but he's also the one who's making the decision on who has been his replacement and, his success.
Times. Yeah.
So it's just like, it's kind of a Michael Jordan thing. It's like, hey, on the court, he was the best, but as an owner and, that kind of deal, it just never succeeded in that.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I said, am I happy with Kingston? No, but I mean, we've got plenty of time to turn it around.
The pieces are there. Like I said, the pitching's there. You got the power.
Yeah.
They just got to get better at like you said, the situational hitting. When you get runners on, don't go for the long ball to try and get 2 or 3 runs at a time.
Yeah.
Get the single. Get the, when you got a guy on third with less than 2 outs.
Just hit the ball. Just put the ball in play.
Sacrifice flies, bunts. That's how Ray Tanner made his teams great, was they were really good situationally. They didn't try and do too much. Just like, I always think about, the first College World Series that we won, just right there at the end, it was just Whit Merrifield just poking it out there, just get the runner in, win the game.
We also just had some dogs.
Yeah,
almost.
we did.
Just in Ray Tanner's career.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the teams he had that didn't win the College World Series.
They should have won the third one.
Yeah, lost in the. What's funny is one of the ones he lost to Texas was the last time they just did a 1-game national championship against Texas. I'm not happy with Kingston, but like I said, he's got plenty of time to turn it around. We could honestly go undefeated in SEC play, and people forget about it.
Yeah.
You're just, unfortunately with baseball, it's just the way it works. You're not going to win every game. You're going to have a couple bad games, and it's just, unfortunately, just happened this weekend.
Yeah, and it's just tough to take because it's Clemson, obviously. But I think, like I said, it's just kind of the nonchalant. And I get what he's saying. He doesn't want to put too much pressure on it right now in the middle of this. But also the fans take these to heart. Like if it was, you lost a series to Texas or somebody like that, before SEC play or that's a little easier to take. It's just the Clemson one's tough.
But fans need to also realize and say the same thing about football. These players don't care about that stuff unless they're. Unless they're a local player that grew up knowing the rivalry.
Yeah,
these players don't care.
I think too, though, with baseball with Carolina and Clemson, I think there is a little bit more care because there was some players that have transferred from Clemson to South Carolina.
Well, it's just one now,
right? But there was multiple at the time. You have Monty Lee, who was their head coach, who's now.
But they also fired him. I saw them tweeting at him.
There's still just that animosity when they say things.
And traditionally, these are two powerhouses,
and they still are. I still think that South Carolina is a very good baseball team.
Just Clemson got the better of us this weekend.
And again, this is early on in the season where they just got to figure some of these situational things out.
Yeah, and honestly, it's just and we'll probably catch crap for this, but Clemson's baseball is just kind of like how their basketball team is. They start out hot. That as the season progresses, they kind of filter away.
Yeah.
So like I said, I would much rather get hot at the end than at the beginning. But now they know what they need to work on. So it's up to the players and the coaches to fix it.
Yeah.
So it's just
And that was kind of how South Carolina was last year. Is they were just like steaming hot at the beginning of the year, got into SEC play, and it was just like, all right, where was that team that we were watching at the beginning? So,
and I mean we still had it, but
Yeah.
it again it's just some of these other teams are just dang good. I mean you look at the top 10 teams in college baseball, majority of them are SEC.
right.
So
But one that you can always count on is Dawn Staley and the women's.
she's dope. Do you know she's getting a statue?
Well, she should.
But my gripe with that is it's going at the State House.
Yeah, I don't know about
Why they need to, or
Yeah.
maybe put it on camp. Like it doesn't always necessarily have to be at the arena, but put it on campus.
that. Yeah.
But
I agree.
from what I've been told, it wasn't something done by the school. I think it
by
was
the
done
state.
by no, it was done by like an organization. I think so.
Well, they finished undefeated SEC regular champs. Obviously, they'll move on to they hadn't lost a home game since what, 2021?
Yeah, I think it
Been
was
like over 1,300 days.
ever since Asia Wilson statue got unveiled. I don't think they've lost
Right.
at home.
So congratulations to them. Obviously, it's national championship or bust with them. I
Yeah.
mean, that's how it always is with Dawn
Yeah.
Staley and her teams. You just expect so much from them.
Yeah. It's the way we've kind of, it was always just, and especially in women's basketball, it was Connecticut.
Yeah.
And now, over the past couple seasons, we've kind of dog walked Connecticut. And it hadn't even been close.
Yeah.
And going back to last year when they lost to Iowa, I think they've addressed a lot of the issues because they were kind of a weak outside shooting team last year.
And now they're one of the best.
Yeah, it's
That's the good thing about Dawn Staley is she finds what's holding her back, and not only does she fix it, she makes it like their strong point.
yeah, and credit to the players because I know one of them. I think she worked all off season to improve her shooting.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's showing.
Exactly.
So yeah, she's I can't remember if she was a Ray Tanner hire or Eric Hyman hire, but that's worked out pretty well for South Carolina.
It has. And before we get to just staying at women's, it just popped in my head. Caitlin Clark becomes all-time leading scorer
Yep.
in just NCAA basketball,
Pete Maravich.
men's or women's. But man, she's aggravating.
She doesn't help herself with the kind of the selling of the flops.
Right. It's just, and the bad thing is like they almost treat her like a LeBron, where she does that stuff and she gets the calls. I mean,
Yeah.
there was the video that I sent you where she kind of does a flop and the girl gets a technical on
Yeah.
it, and she did nothing.
Yeah, and then there's a scenario I saw. I didn't watch the game, but there was a scenario where I don't know if it was like a tied up ball or something, and a Ohio State player was going after her, or had the ball, and Caitlin Clark kind of like flailed her arms and kind of pushed her a little bit. She made more contact with her than the girl.
Right.
So I don't know. There's only so much you can say, but I don't know.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, congrats to her. That's a feat that'll never be passed again, I don't think.
Yeah, especially not in the men's game because the best players don't normally say 4
Right,
years.
exactly.
And scores like her don't come around
Rare.
that often.
Yeah, she's rare.
Which the women's record she broke, Kelsey Plum, she hasn't been that far out of college.
Right. And then South Carolina men's basketball
Going for regular SEC.
picked to finish dead last before the season in the SEC. They won 11 total games last year, and now they've won 12 SEC games.
Yep, I think we're let's see.
12-4, I'm pretty sure. But they have a chance on Wednesday.
We're 24-5.
12-5 in the SEC.
12-4 in the SEC.
12-4.
Yep.
Yeah,
And we're still picked to lose against Mississippi State. Tennessee's tough. That's
Yeah.
going to be a tough game.
that's going to be a tough one. Obviously, you beat Tennessee before. You get them at the CLA on Wednesday night for pretty much. You win that game. You almost solidify an SEC regular season championship. Obviously, there can be ways of a tie. And I
don't
think
think
going into Saturday, there was a way that the season could have ended with a 5-way tie for
so.
first
If we win, there will be a tie, but I think
Right.
we get the head to head. But
over Tennessee.
correct. But now it would be if we lose, I think we'll finish third because I think Alabama would finish, because Alabama's 12-4 in SEC play too.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's still more than one game left.
Right.
But right now we're in I would say we're in second.
Yeah. So big game Wednesday night for the men's basketball. I'm sure it'll be a sellout. I'm sure that the arena's going to be rocking.
Yeah.
So huge game for the Gamecocks. Again, even if they don't win that game, they're still a top team.
Yeah.
They're going to get some buys in the SEC tournament, which I can't think we've ever gotten that before.
Yeah. Not under Frank Martin.
No. And so, again, but to be picked to finish dead last, to now be at, where you have a chance to finish first, just speaks volumes for Lamont Paris and his coaching. And the fact that you have players like Michie Johnson, who after an 11-win season, he could have easily, with his talent, and who, he was LeBron James' protege.
Yeah. And
he could have transferred anywhere. But to stick it out and now, to be where they are, I think it speaks a lot of Lamont, because obviously he got GG. He's keeping these players here. He's getting transfers in. He's got top recruits coming. So when they hired Lamont Paris, people were just like, who is this? What are we doing?
People hated it.
Yeah,
and the one good thing about basketball is you don't need 14, 15 transfers to you only need really
3 or
2
4.
or 3, 4 max. Can change the outlook of your program, and us doing this becomes more attractive for transfers.
Yep.
High school recruits are seeing it, but we have to be able to do it on a consistent basis.
Right.
That was the one knock with Frank Martin. Even the year we went to the Final Four, it's not like we jumped off the screen. We were this great program. We just got hot at the right time, but he couldn't sustain any of that success.
I think with Lamont, though, is like he's the opposite of Frank Martin.
No, I agree.
He's a coach that he can get onto the players, but he doesn't do it in a aggressive, bullying you way. And the players respect that, and they play tougher for him. And he's also a likable coach.
Yeah.
Where they like him, they can accept his criticism and his coaching, and then they become better for it.
Yep. So,
and not only are the players currently on the team seeing that, obviously recruits are seeing that, and players on different teams to transfer in. So, big game for the Gamecocks Wednesday night. Hopefully they can pull that out, because that would be awesome.
Yeah, and then F1 news. A dominating win by
just huge
Max Verstappen.
I mean, he raced his tail off.
Steven, the thing, I know you're being funny, but the thing is, and credit to my buddy Paul, he predicted the podium correctly. It was Verstappen 1, Checo Perez 2, Carlos Sainz 3. The thing with Max Verstappen, he just dominates. Like, they don't even show him majority of the race, because he's got, so you have to pit. It's not like NASCAR where you have to there can be strategy, but you don't have to factor in gas like they do in NASCAR.
You just crank it up and hit the gas.
It's just
and go.
tires. Like, they've got enough fuel in the tank that'll make it, because it's only like 50, 60, 70 laps.
Right.
So it's not like they're at Daytona. It's like a 2.5 mile track and they're running 200 laps. When Verstappen pitted the first time, I think he had over a 30-second lead. And the pit stops in F1 is like 2 seconds. It's not long.
You explaining this is almost like listening to my wife talk about medical stuff.
Yeah.
And she's giving me terms and stuff, and I'm just like,
you know what a pit stop is.
I know what a pit stop is, but when you're talking
it's not like it's this new sport nobody's ever heard of.
Well, if he's so good, I'm not even going to, why waste my time if he's just going to win them all?
That's the thing. It's honest to God, it's a race to determine who's going to finish second and third and make the podium, because he just dominated. Like, it's insane how
it's almost like watching golf when Tiger was in like his prime.
When he won I think the U.S. Open by like 15, 16 strokes. Yeah, that's a good comparison. Yeah, he just dominated all weekend.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh, man,
speaking
it was
of
awesome.
Dominating, though, before we get into the movies, West Ham and the boys, they came out guns blazing on Saturday. Jared Bowen, 2 goals in 6 minutes. Finishes with a hat trick. 4 goals.
Who'd y'all play?
Everton.
Yeah.
I hate their goalie. I just don't like the way his face looks.
Pickford? That's England's number 1.
Yeah, I just don't like the way he looks.
And while we're talking about my buddy Paul, Brentford draws against Chelsea, and my Man U team lost to
Trash.
City. Listen, it's injuries galore. It's insane. Now let's see you.
All right, here we go.
Yourself.
We're going to get into top 10 sports movies from our point of view.
Yeah, let's preface this.
Yeah.
Our top 10 may not be your top 10.
Right. We may not. I think we may have maybe one.
I'm excited to hear
Maybe
yours.
one that will end up in the same.
Because your
top 10.
wife was kind of calling you out on Facebook last night.
Look,
where,
I really didn't start
and
watching
the thing
movies
is you
until
like
college.
and you like movies. Like that's
I do,
one
but see,
thing
the
we
thing
have
is,
in
it's like,
common.
I didn't start watching movies or TV shows until college, and really my sophomore year at college. I just spent so much time doing sports that
You've never
I just-
seen any of the James Bond films.
Nope.
Never seen any of the Mission Impossible movies.
I've seen more of the new stuff and new TV shows.
You
so-
haven't seen the nude movie, the James Bond movies.
Yeah, but because that would require me to go back.
No, it doesn't. You don't need it. It's not like it's in continuation. The only one I would say is probably like Daniel Craig's.
Yeah.
But as much crap as you give me about watching TV shows, I could probably say the same thing about your movie selections. But let's start from 10.
Okay.
Let's start from 10 and go to your
Also, going to
favorite.
preface this too. Some of these movies I haven't watched in a long time.
That's okay. That's
so
okay.
I'm not going to give a synopsis on it. You want my first?
Yeah, so you do. You don't. We'll do one at a
10.
time.
All right.
One at a time.
I'm gonna start off with, and I just picked this one when we came in because I thought I had a 10th one picked and I didn't, and it could have been quite a few. So I'm gonna go with The Rookie
Okay.
with Dennis Quaid.
Okay. I
Good
like that
movie.
one. Yeah. that's
Good wholesome movie.
yeah.
Classic movie. You
Yeah.
know, kid. You know, high school team pushes a coach. Go try it. He makes the team. Just a classic movie. It's just a good, nice, feel good sports
That's a
movie.
good. I like that one. That is a good one.
It was also in contention was, For the Love of the Game. Another baseball movie.
We'll get to the ones that are left off after
Okay.
the list. No, I think that's a good pick. I like that movie.
Is it in your top 10?
No, that didn't even make my list.
Didn't even consider
But
it.
honest to God, man, I can't list every sports movie.
When
that
I was
like.
looking at them, just to kind of get a reference, it was like,
Mm-hmm.
when you just type in top sports, top 100, top 60, top 50.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, there's so many.
It's all
Yeah.
preferential, but there's also there's just so many to technically choose from.
Right.
I mean, so with my number 10 is The Greatest Game Ever Played. That's a story about. Have you seen that one?
Yes, it was in consideration.
Okay, so for
It
people
was
who
in
don't know-
consideration, but I haven't watched it in so long
Yeah.
that with Shia LaBeouf.
Yep, I'll give you this one. I've read the book.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I haven't read that many, but it's for people who don't know. It's about Francis Ouimet, who won the U.S. Open in Brookline, Massachusetts, at the Country Club as an amateur. It kind of really opened the door for amateurs not playing in the championship because they always have them. He grew up right across the street from the Country Club. That golf back in that time was, as they say, a game for gentlemen.
Yeah.
Unless you're powerful or had money, you didn't really golf. You were the caddy. It was very golf back then was very different than what it is now, where it was very rare if people from overseas in Europe came and played.
Right.
So it's a dang good movie. Really good movie.
Can you give like a really briefly what your determined like the criteria that you were looking for in a movie to make your top 10? Like I know it's not specific, but like
It just there was really there was no factors really. Just if I enjoyed it and it meant some of them were some of mine have like it means something to me.
Yeah.
And some of them were like I just thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
Some
Same
of
thing
it's
with,
like sports that I don't even like. We'll get to it, but it's like one of them I just like thoroughly enjoyed the movie.
And there's like sports movies that I love that are stupid.
Right.
So it's I've actually never seen that.
Talladega Nights.
Yeah,
I mean,
like-
you could consider that. I thoroughly enjoy that movie, but it's not a top 10.
Like Semi-Pro,
Right.
Happy Gilmore, stuff like that are good, funny movies. But to me, it's not.
Right.
It can be like I have like comedy ones, but it has to be like I guess good comedy, not like stupid comedy,
Right.
if that makes sense. Like when I was talking with my buddy about basketball, and that was it's a stupid movie,
Right.
But I enjoy it. So the greatest game ever played.
All right, number 9. You go with your number 9.
All right, number 9, I've got Little Big League.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh my
It
God.
doesn't either.
Oh my God, you two. So this one is more of like a nostalgia pick. Growing up with friends, when we spend the night at each other's houses, we always watch that movie. It's about a kid whose grandfather owns the Minnesota Twins. So he grew up around that organization. And his grandfather unfortunately passed away. Well, he left the baseball team too.
I've seen this movie.
He left the baseball team to his son. And then it's just he becomes the owner. He fires the manager.
He becomes the manager. Okay, yeah, I've seen
it's
that
got
one.
King Griffey Jr. in
Really,
it.
that is a good one. That's a good movie.
So
now to think about
that's
it.
more of a nostalgia pick. I don't think it gets talked about enough. This is more of like a nostalgia pick. Growing up watching it a lot. So number 9 pick, Little Big League.
All right, number 9 for me, and I know this won't be on your list. Southpaw. With Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
It was written by Kurt Sutter, who also did Sons of Anarchy.
Yep.
Great movie because he's obviously like the top of the top boxer at the time. And then, his wife gets shot and killed. He ends up going down a bad path.
Spoiler alerts for anybody who's never seen any of these movies.
Sorry,
it's not like they're new.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
no new ones.
None of these are movies that have just recently came out that's on my list. So if you ain't seen them, it's just kind of on you.
Yeah.
But yeah, he loses his daughter and then eventually makes a comeback.
His daughter doesn't die.
He loses custody.
Yeah, he has like a huge downfall, I guess you could
exactly.
say.
So I just a great movie in general.
Yeah, I agree.
And then obviously a little tidbit: Eminem was supposed to play the main role. The role that Jake Gyllenhaal played. Yep, Eminem was originally supposed to play it. That's why when Eminem passed on acting for it, he did the soundtrack. He did all the music for it.
Okay.
So, fun fact.
I like that.
There you go.
That's a good reason.
All right. You want my number 8?
Yeah, you're number 8.
Bounce
so
it?
it's like a snake draft.
All right, so this one is one that I just thoroughly enjoyed the movie.
Okay.
Ford versus Ferrari.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah.
Don't care anything about racing or cars or anything like that. It was just it was an Oscar nominee.
That's a well-made movie.
Yeah,
well-made movie.
And I just thoroughly enjoyed it. Just the drama behind it, the story. Obviously, it was a true story. Ford versus Ferrari.
What?
Huh?
No,
it's
had Matt Damon and Christian Bale in it. Where Christian Bale did a dang good job in that movie. The
mechanic who just becomes
It's for people who don't know. It's centered around the race, the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Yep.
And I don't know prior to this if any American auto manufacturer was in the races.
I don't think so.
But it's kind of like F1 where like the manufacturers who dominate those races are usually foreign based, like European Ferrari.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I think after that's kind of when the Shelby Mustang had started. So Matt Damon's character is Carroll Shelby, who kind of him and Christian Bale's character designed the car, and it centers. And I think sometimes the stories can kind of be embellished because they have to make it for Hollywood. But no, that's a really good. James Mangold's a great director. He did Logan.
Is that on your list, Kyle?
No.
I'm telling you, we may have one.
But no, I do love that movie.
Yeah, great movie.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah. Even if you do, like I said, if you don't like racing and cars,
it was in
and stuff,
consideration.
Yeah, if you don't like racing and cars, it's still just a great movie. Again, it was an Oscar-nominated movie.
Yeah, I feel like
it was one of the best movies of that year.
Like sports movies kind of get the rap of like I guess you could say comic book movies where they're not made to be, I guess Oscar worthy or like highly reviewed movies. But Ford v Ferrari is a dang good movie.
Yep.
It beat that beat that kind of enigma around.
Yeah, stereotype.
All right, so my number 8 is Caddyshack.
Okay.
You went with the comedy. You got a star-studded lineup: Chevy Chase, Rodney Dangerfield, Bill Murray. Judge
I think I've seen it,
Smails.
but I couldn't tell you a whole lot about it.
Dude, it's such a great. It's a golf movie.
Yeah.
It's centered. The main character, his name's I think Danny. He's a caddy at the course. He's trying to save money to go to college, trying to get this scholarship they do. It's called like this caddy scholarship. Chevy Chase is just perfect in it. Bill Murray's perfect in it. He's like the groundskeeper.
There's not much that Chevy Chase isn't perfect.
The Llama, Gunga Galunga.
I mean, he's pretty solid.
And then you got Bill Murray's trying to battle a gopher. It's a great movie. You got a priest who's playing the round of his life, and it's in a monsoon and gets struck by lightning. It's just a great movie. Great movie.
All right, give me your 7.
All right, number 7, and Zeb kind of mentioned this one earlier, The Sandlot.
Okay.
This is kind of like Little Big League. This is a movie I watch every year around 4th of July because one of the most iconic, like, I guess, parts in the movie is when it's 4th of July. You know, it's growing up playing baseball with your friends in the summertime.
Just so many
Benny the Jet
hitters.
Rodriguez.
Yeah.
You know, when it's 4th of July in the movie, they got the cookout going, then they're playing baseball and the fireworks showing. I mean, that's an American classic.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. Like I said, you play ball like a girl. There's a lot of like one-liner tidbits in there that are still famous today. You know, a lot of the the actors, they're doing like the anniversaries or whatever for it. Sandlot.
All right, my number 7, Green Street Hooligans.
I knew when we were talking last night, I was like, Stephen better choose this movie.
Yeah, 100%. And again, there's not
a
lot of
sports movie.
It has to be, yeah. There's not a ton of sport in it, but it is surrounded. The whole genesis of who they are and what they are is based on the football club.
And that's how
I picked West Ham United to be my favorite team. Was based off of this movie.
Jax Taylor.
It's basically about
soccer hooligans.
They have firms that are basically. They don't call themselves. They're not a gang.
Yeah.
And they mentioned that in the movie, but that's basically what they are. It's just really rabid fans of their football club. And it's kind of centered around that, but it is based off of West Ham United, and that's how I picked my
soccer
team.
hooligans for West Ham United,
Right? And it's based off Green Street was where their pubs were that they went to before they would go to the games. That's how I picked West Ham.
American fans
it has to get on my list because it's how I picked one of my favorite sports teams.
And the thing is,
and it's a great movie.
You hated soccer. And I finally convinced you now. Look at you.
And here's the thing: it's like I watched that movie before I ever even considered getting into soccer. But another fun fact: if you've watched that movie, that's the reason. If you've watched Sons of Anarchy, Charlie Hunnam was chosen to play Jax Taylor based off of his role in Green Street Hooligans.
Elijah Wood's in it?
Yep.
You're 6th.
All right, I'm gonna go Field of Dreams. Another classic.
That's on my list.
Okay.
Yeah, that's on my list.
All right, Field of Dreams, just classic. You know, obviously there's a lot of like history in it. You know, with the Black Sox, and they go around. Great actors, Kevin Costner. You get that moment of being able to play catch with his dad at the end of the movie.
James Earl Jones is in it.
James Earl Jones.
If you build it,
they will come.
Yep, it's you can't beat that.
And
movie.
now they even have the Field of Dreams game in the MLB where they go out to Iowa and they play in a cornfield.
I think they only did that once. I could be wrong.
They've done it 2 times. I think they do it every year now.
Okay, I know they did. I thought they were only doing it once.
It's very new within the last year or two.
Yeah.
But so just classic baseball movie.
Can't go wrong with that one. All right, my number 6 pick, Major League.
Yep. It's not on my list, but it was a consideration.
Honestly, I've only got, there's one I wanted to pick, but it's one of those movies, like I said, I love, but it's a stupid movie.
Right.
But Major League, great movie. Wesley Snipes. It's just a classic.
Yeah.
It's an all-time great sports movie.
I always think about the slide.
Willie Mays Hayes. You may
make
run like Mays, but you hit like, and he's got to give the push ups every time he pops up. Jake Taylor. That's a. I mean, Roger Dorn. When the manager pees on his contract because he doesn't want to do any extra calisthenics.
It's the same one with the guy with the chicken.
Serrano.
Yeah.
Probably the best TV president, Dennis Hayward from 24.
I've never watched that.
What? Steven.
All right.
You can't give me crap about anything.
Your number 5. All right, we're getting into top 5. So your top 5. Here we go.
Top 5. My number 5 pick is Miracle.
Okay, that was in consideration for me, but I hadn't seen it in so long that I didn't put it in the list, but that was a consideration.
It's centered around kind of leading up to the 1980 Winter Olympic Games with the USA men's hockey team. Going into that that games, Russia, or as they were at the time, the Soviet Union, just dominated hockey. I don't think they lost a game in over a decade. I think they'd won like the previous 3 or 4 Winter Olympic Games. There were talks of boycotting the games just because that time was a very heated political thing. And another thing is the USA didn't allow professionals to play. So
all college players.
Or whoever.
Amateurs.
So, great movie. Kurt Russell gives a great performance as Herb Brooks. Miracle.
Yeah, that was in consideration for my top 10, but again, I hadn't watched it in so long. So my number 5, you already mentioned it, The Sandlot. Obviously, no need to delve into it anymore.
Yeah.
Just an all-time classic.
Yeah.
You got to watch it all the time.
Yep, I agree.
Just that's just childhood. You know,
Yeah.
you watch it in your childhood, it just kind of makes you reminisce. So yeah,
1993. That movie's 31 years old.
What, Field of Dreams?
No, Sandlot.
Sandlot.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 4, Remember the Titans.
Okay.
Just classic
Yep,
movie.
that's on my
Again,
list.
a lot of historical, stuff in that. The racial issues back in the day.
Yeah.
You have, and then within that team, and then they end up bonding. You
Mm-hmm.
have Ryan Gosling, who's an absolute liability at cornerback.
Alan?
I mean,
Coach Yost.
just a great movie.
Yeah.
Obviously you got, drawing a blank here, Denzel. Just, I mean, he never gives a bad performance, but just a great performance in this movie.
When he does, he's kind of, excuse me, when he gives performances outside of like his mantra of just being a bad man,
Right.
and not a bad man like a villain, but
Right.
like in The Equalizer, or Deja Vu,
American Gangster.
And this is off topic, but probably my favorite performance by Denzel is in John Q.
Yeah, great movie.
Such a great movie.
But, just the climax of the movie when, obviously they have the car accident and everything, and they come and they're brothers, and
Julius Campbell.
just a great movie.
Left side.
Just they give you the sports, they give you the feels, they give you everything in that movie. Just a classic.
Agree. All right, my number 4, you talked about it, Field of Dreams.
There you go.
Nothing else really to say about it.
Right.
It's just a guy.
We had more on our list than I thought.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about this when you picked it, but I think it was kind of centered. Obviously, it was centered around his like relationship with his deceased father.
Right.
He thought when it was, if you build it, they will. He will come. I think he thought they were talking about Shoeless Joe Jackson, which there's a movie about the White Sox with that.
The Black Sox scandal.
Yeah, and it's called 8 Men Out.
Right.
So Ray Liotta's in the movie. Kevin Costner really doesn't do a bad sports movie.
No.
You could probably say Draft Day.
Right.
That wasn't the best, but like you mentioned it. Was it For the Love of the Game?
Yeah.
He really doesn't do a bad sports movie.
Right. I agree.
My number 3, another Kevin Costner, Bull Durham. It's Bull Durham.
It's about a minor league baseball team.
Yeah. Obviously the Durham Bulls. I mean, it's still something that they kind of showcase around the Durham Bulls baseball stadium. Kevin Costner's in it. It's about minor league baseball. Newt Lelouch. I'm trying to the name of the pitcher actor's blanking. Tim Robinson. Just a great baseball movie.
Yeah.
Crash Davis. Just I don't think there's much you have to say about it.
Yeah, it was in consideration.
Yeah.
All right, top 3 for me. Number 3, Rocky.
Yep. That was on my list. But when I was like breaking down, it unfortunately didn't make mine.
Just all-time great sports movie.
Yeah.
Got a bunch of fight movies in there.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like there's like a lot of kind of like life lessons you can learn from these boxing fighting movies because it's just one guy.
Yeah.
When you have a baseball or football or basketball movie, and, all these kind of things, just like the whole team aspect. But with boxing,
Apollo
it's like
Creed.
it's just one guy, and it's how he's going through this. And obviously Sylvester Stallone wrote the movie. He there was a lot of outside, like real life stuff to the movie where like
It's
he
based
had to
off
sell
somebody.
his dog to get the movie made and stuff like that, and he was able to use the money to buy his dog back.
Would
So-
you sell Presley to make a movie?
No.
Y'all don't give that dog any love.
Just go
over
get
there.
a loan now.
Yeah.
You don't have to sell your dog, but
Yeah.
no, just an all-time great movie again. And it wasn't even like, okay, he wins at the end. It was like
He lost.
he lost, but he does what he set out to do. He went, the distance. He, was this no-name boxer who gets to this big-time fight. So, and then obviously, I really don't think there was a bad Rocky movie. Obviously, some of the older ones are tough.
The one with Tommy Gunn in it was not good. I mean,
Some
but
of the
it-
older ones are tough, but and then
I mean-
you get a whole nother franchise out of it.
I
with
mean,
Creed.
and Rocky also won 3 Oscars.
Yeah, and then you get a whole nother franchise now with Creed. So
Yeah.
Rocky top 3.
I agree. I like that pick. All right, my number. I've already done my number 3. What's your
Yeah.
number 2?
My number 2, Zeb mentioned it. Fighting movies, Warrior.
When you said Rocky and Zeb mentioned
Man, what a great
and
movie.
Zeb mentioned boxing, I was like, he's gonna put. Because
Yeah,
you
dude,
love
Warrior.
but you love Tom Hardy.
I love Tom
movies.
Hardy, but just even outside the whole sports aspect of it, just a beautiful story of these two brothers who are living completely different lives.
I've never watched it.
Okay, so basically, you got one brother who
It's
is
got Jared
That's one of like 5 rewatchable movies.
Edgerton.
yeah,
What's his last name?
Edgerton or something
Yeah.
like that. So you got Tom Hardy, who is basically a MIA, not MIA. He's a what do you call
So
it?
I might be thinking
when
of
you
the
just
fighter.
leave.
AWOL.
He's AWOL. He's an AWOL Marine. And you got his brother who is like a high school science teacher.
Yeah.
And they're both fighting, and it's an MMA movie. They have this basically tournament. This would never happen in real life, especially with MMA, because it's basically like they're doing multiple fights in one day.
Yeah.
It's like a 16-person tournament. The brothers enter. They know that each other are there. They haven't spoken to each other. They don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
Then they also have this dad who's like a recovering alcoholic in the middle of it, and he's going in between the brothers. Basically, it climaxes in that Tom Hardy's character is trying to win money because one of his buddies died overseas, and he wants to give the money to his family. And the high school teacher's just trying to make it. They end up getting in the championship fight together. And I think one of the best scenes is like they get to the end, and
Don't spoil it for Kyle, Jared.
I'm not gonna watch it.
I mean, you can,
Lord.
but basically they get to the end. They're grappling. They're in a submission, and it's just if you watch it, dude, like you would cry at this scene because you got the dad who's drunk watching it on TV. You got the brothers who they haven't spoken to each other in years. One brother, he's got him where he can just break his arm, and he's like, "Please, just tap. I love you. I love
Yeah.
you. Just tap out." And the other guy's not gonna tap, and eventually he breaks his arm. And so they keeps fighting. The science teacher brother wins. They walk off out of the ring together. Don't even do the hand raise. He
Yeah.
helps his brother to his locker room. They split the money. He ends up getting arrested because he was AWOL. But it's a great
Okay.
movie, dude.
I was
just
thinking
the
of-
story behind it.
I
is
was
just
thinking of
awesome.
the fighter because that's got Christian. That's another Christian Bale.
That was in consideration with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
that was in consideration. But Warrior, man, just the story and just how it climaxes at the end was just
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay. All right. So my number 2 is, you talked about this one already, Remember the Titans.
Yep.
I had a tough time choosing between my 1 and 2.
I knew my one when we came into this. I knew my one.
See, I didn't. I was torn between Remember the Titans and my number 1 pick. But like you said, Denzel just does a great job in this movie.
Yep.
Just kind of the I won't say facts of all surrounding the movie, but just kind of like the conflict.
Right.
It's a newly integrated school, so they're
Yep.
dealing with the racial issues in the movie or in the school. And it just, I think it shows how important sports can bring a community
Yeah.
together. It's Gary Bertier, and there's 2 movies that make me cry every time I watch it. Is Remember the Titans and my number 1 pick.
You need to watch Warrior.
when they win the state championship and Gary Bertier's in the hospital and he's paralyzed and he just
Yeah.
reaches his arms up, man, that's powerful. It's a great movie.
It is.
I'm gonna get choked up talking
Oh
about it.
God, help! All right, give me your number one.
All right, my number 1 pick. And this is probably one of my favorite movies.
Okay,
Is Rudy.
I never watched it.
Oh,
Never watched it.
oh my God!
I mean, he didn't even score.
He's a defensive player, you idiot. He's not on offense.
Again, I've never watched it.
God, it's such a great movie. It's just and the way some of these movies are made, it's embellished a lot. Like I don't think he was the most popular player on his team, but it's just an undersized kid who is passionate about football, loves University of Notre Dame, wants to go to play there, doesn't have the grades to get in. His best friend dies, and he kind of, I guess you could say, has like an epiphany with it because his best friend was, according in the movie, was the only one who really supported his dream of going to Notre Dame. He starts at Holy Cross. He finally gets into Notre Dame and gets to walk on, and he wants to just in order, you have to be on the sideline in order to like be in the record books as being on the team. So he convinces his coach his junior year to let him on the field or, make roster for one game. Well, Air Parseghian, he then leaves. So then a new coach comes in, Dan Devine, and that's, the famous scene where, the captains go into the coach's office, put their jerseys on his desk, like, I want this for Rudy. And the Rudy chant starts in the game, playing Georgia Tech, and it's such a great movie. Jon Favreau's in it. D-Bob, dude, it's such a great movie. It's you got to watch it.
I'll watch it one day.
It's like one of the, like I said, it's one of the movies that will make you emotional every time you watch it.
All right, my number one, and I think that this one just is in my opinion, just a thoroughly good movie. But there is like a lot of personal background to this movie for me. Friday Night Lights.
Yep, that's
just top. I just think it's a great movie. But for us, and Zeb will probably remember when we won our first state championship, we had to stay at school after school every game, and basically we were in the lunchroom. They put out mats for us to like, if you wanted a nap, whatever. We had our pregame meal. Yeah. And every single week we watched Friday Night Lights before the game. Yeah. And obviously we go on in the movie. They don't quite win the state championship, but we did. But that was just a movie that it was just driven and ingrained to. And some of the most important moments in my life as, a football player was we watched that movie before every game. Even on the bus, they found a way to put a DVD player in there and, that way we could watch the movie.
Peter Berg doesn't really miss a lot in his...
The music in the movie, like sometimes, like if I just wanted to relax and chill, I'd just turn on Explosions in the Sky. They do the soundtrack. There's no words in any of the songs. It's just a guitar.
The scene at the end, I mean, that's a great movie as well. When, is it Winchell? No, Billings. Is it Billingsley? Tim McGraw is his dad. He just...
Well, the whole thing is like Tim McGraw is his character. He won the state championships. He did it, and he, they have the scene where he kicks out the window, throws his ring, tells him, get you one of these. All the build up from the abuse that he took from his dad. They, lose right there on the goal line. He walks out, picks him up, puts his ring on his finger, lets you know that he's a champion. Like, dude, that movie is kind of like yours. It'll get you.
That part makes me cry every time.
I mean, there's just a lot of emotion in it, and there's just.
I'm a softie with the sports movies. I don't know.
Well, the thing is like
it's a good story,
like football especially is like that's was important to me. That's what I played. So when you get these movies and you can kind of relate to them, and what obviously some people have to deal with, Luckily, I didn't have to deal with it. I had a very supportive dad who, did everything for me.
Steve didn't abuse you.
No, not at all. No, my dad did everything that I ever needed.
He didn't have a state ring to shove down your throat.
No, my dad gave me everything I needed and supported me. He was a coach on the team, but obviously Billingsley has something different. The emotions that they play in it. And then again, it was just like
it's just
in that moment, and then they have the final scene where they're all at their car and they realize like, hey, that was the last time that we'll ever do this together. Yeah. So just an emotional movie, but again, with the whole factor of we watched it every week,
Oh yeah, that's good. And then the same with Boobie Miles with his, I think it's his grandfather, his uncle,
grandfather.
And then like the halftime speech Billy Bob Thornton gives.
Hey, powerful. And Billy Bob, you got a name like Billy Bob Thornton. People and he did like Bad Santa and stuff, but he's got like some crucial movies where he plays, extremely good roles.
One of the probably the best speeches you'll see in a movie, especially sports movies. Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday. So, all right, let's recap our top 10, and then we'll kind of talk about some movies maybe we wanted to put on the list.
All right, from 10 to 1, I had The Rookie, Southpaw, Ford versus Ferrari, Green Street Hooligans, Field of Dreams, The Sandlot, Remember the Titans, Rocky, Warrior, Friday Night Lights.
All right, my top 10, greatest game ever played, Little Big League, Caddyshack, The Sandlot, Major League, Miracle, Field of Dreams, Bull Durham, Remember the Titans, and Rudy.
We actually had more on our list than I thought. We had Remember the Titans, The Sandlot, The Rookie.
No,
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams.
Yeah, so 3 out of 10. Hey, it's more than I thought. I thought The Sandlot would be the only one that we had that was the same.
There's some that I grew up watching, like Rookie of the Year with Henry Rowengartner, Rosenbagger. One I really wanted to put on, but it's such a stupid. It's not stupid, but it's Major League 3 Back to the Minors.
Yeah.
It's probably the most quotable movie me, my dad, and my brother can do. It's
There's a lot of like stupid, funny sports like Talladega Nights. Obviously, there's so many quotable
Semi-pro.
lines, just funny. Will Ferrell.
Me and a buddy of mine can quote semi-pros.
Yeah.
Like, see a possum, kill it. All right, it's not a pet.
Just
We traded away our washing machine to get them.
Field of, for the love of the game, that was inconsiderate. Obviously, you have multiple Rocky movies that could have been in there. Creed, I thought about putting some Creed movies in there.
I don't. My only knock with the Creed movies is it's and I get there's only so much you can do, but it's like some of the storyline kind of mirrors
Right, Creed
the
1
Rocky
and
movies.
Rocky 1 were almost like
and then
just a repurpose.
like the new Creed 3. It's kind of similar to I forgot which Rocky movie it is, but when he fights Tommy Gunn, it's
Right.
like. But in Creed 3, it's like his best friend growing up who
Right.
kind of took the fall for him.
Yeah.
And then, they kind of have they're falling out and they
Right.
fight in it. But a couple movies that I had that I didn't put, The Replacements with Keanu Reeves.
Yep.
Great movie. A League of Their Own.
Yeah.
Great movie. I
There's
had
no crying in baseball.
I had Rocky. There's no crying in baseball.
Yeah.
Little Giants.
That was in consideration.
Yeah, Little Giants. And Varsity Blues.
Okay.
I
pretty much mentioned all the ones I had in
There's a
consideration.
huge list of sports movies
Yeah.
that I could possibly
Yeah,
do.
Space Jam.
Not the newest one
Not the newest one, no, but the original Space Jam.
with MJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Happy Gilmore. Like I said, Rookie of the Year, Benchwarmers is a favorite of mine. Yeah, I just love sports movies. Yep.
Yeah. You really could.
The original Bad News Bears with Walter Matthau in it.
Right.
The one with Billy Bob Thornton was funny.
Right.
Then there's
Sometimes it's hard to beat the originals.
then there's another one, Bad News Bears, Breaking Train. I think it's called Breaking Training when they go to play in the Astrodome. I like
Cool
that one.
Runnings.
Yep.
I mean, there it is. There's just so many, but again, I tried to pick the ones that I thought were either a thoroughly good movie or just had some kind of meaning to it.
There's one that I thought about putting, but I hadn't seen it in a while, which was Days of Thunder. It's a Tom Cruise movie about NASCAR.
Yep.
That was a good one, but I hadn't really seen that one in a long time.
Yeah, like I said, there was a lot of movies like Miracle. I hadn't seen it in so long. Like I know that it's a great movie. And it could have been top 10, but I just hadn't seen it in so long to really have that like connection.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's so many out there, but overall, pretty solid list.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments. We're going to put a poll up.
Yeah.
So who you thought had the best draft? Again, just because it's not on our, we're not mind readers. We're not going to pick every movie.
Right.
But yeah, I think this was a good list. I think this was good thing to do.
Yeah. Not really sure. We got March Madness coming up, but it's in a few weeks. So
Yeah. Conference tournaments will be starting soon.
Yeah.
So talk about that. The first weekend or the first 2 rounds of March Madness are the best.
Yeah.
All
That's when
weekend,
all the craziness
Thursday,
happens.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like appointment television because there's just so many games on.
I think that we will do a bracket once it all is released.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure to put our brackets up. Everybody can kind of. We may even do create a bracket where other listeners and subscribers can enter their bracket and see who gets the most right.
Yep.
So we'll be back next week to probably talk South Carolina basketball.
We'll talk sports.
Yeah, it'll be more heavy sports talk.
Yeah.
So we'll see you then. Again, let us know what you think of the list. Is there anything else you want us to cover?
Yeah. Who did we leave off that you wanted?
Yeah. What should not have been considered?
I think you're going to have more that shouldn't have been considered than me.
Well,
I'm joking.
all right. Anyway, we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank y'all.